Hey guys, coming at you today with a recipe for some easy, low-carb keto, homemade sloppy joes, but I'm making it a little bit better with something we're always missing, the bread. So today we're gonna make some sloppy joe buns and only 3 grams of carbs each. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia and I'm a pastry chef with a sweet tooth. And I've been a chef most of my life and now I own a keto gluten-free bakery. And I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best recipes possible. So if you enjoy my recipes, please hit the subscribe button down there, give the video a thumbs up, leave me comments, share with all your friends and family and on all your social media. It all helps me, my channel, and my bakery grow and to bring you new videos every Saturday. Today, some delicious sloppy joe, including the bun that we usually miss out on. And I'm excited to have more of these. I'm definitely gonna do more testing on baking from frozen. I'll have all the details throughout this video, but it's something you can prep way in advance. You can bake them, keep them in the fridge, keep them in the freezer, reheat them, and they're delicious. So this is gonna make 12 sloppy joe buns at about 3 grams net carbs each, and 2 is plenty for dinner. So we're gonna get right in on it. We're gonna start with the sloppy joe because you want your filling kind of cooled and at least room temperature so that it's not so like sloppy, because it's hard to get the buns kind of closed up if it's too liquidy. I do have a leaner ground beef. I bought 93.7, but any ground beef will work. If you do get a high fat, I would drain it before you add all your stuff. That's the only note there. I'm doing 1 medium onion, which this is a little bit bigger than medium, but that's how I did the carb count, was with all this stuff with a medium onion. We're just gonna dice that up. You can also add peppers to this. There's traditionally peppers in a sloppy joe, but I'm not a huge fan of peppers and they're extra carbs, so I'm just leaving it out. I have added it to it when I've had some, because I keep trying to give him to Van because, you know, I want him to like everything, even if I don't like it, but I try to avoid them in my portion. So we're just gonna do a medium dice on this. Don't have to be very precise. Cooking is much more freestyling than baking is. Before I get all that, you want your pan ready to go. So get it on medium heat and get some avocado oil in there. You just need a little lubrication for your onions to saute in. If you don't mind like crunchier onions, you can just do the beef and then throw in the onions. I like to saute them up and get them soft first. So if you got your pan and oil ready to go, you can just chop and drop it. That way, if you're using a tiny cutting board like me, you have room. It's always easiest to work right next to your stovetop too. I'm probably just gonna use that much and save the rest for something else. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. This is way more powerful than like a regular stove. While this is sauteing, you wanna get your sauce ready for the sloppy joe. So this is kind of like the multitasking. It helps you get done faster in the kitchen, but we're just gonna keep stirring that off and on while we get our sauce ready. I just use a big measuring cup to put all the stuff in for our sauces. And you're gonna start with your biggest amounts of things, which is water, tomato ketchup, and tomato paste. I do this instead of a lot of recipes call for just like a can of tomato sauce. I always have just cans of tomato paste. So basically we're making our own tomato sauce with the water and tomato paste. And then I'm using the Primal Kitchen unsweetened ketchup. So I'm gonna put 3/4 of a cup of, it's better to use warm water because it's easier to incorporate the tomato paste into warm water. You can also add some garlic cloves to this. I didn't have it in my original recipe that I wrote down, but I feel like I probably just put it in as like I always put it in, so I didn't even think about it when I did it and I was writing stuff down on my recipe. Put 2 tablespoons into our water and whisk it up. I love these measuring spoons. I have them on the top of my hood on my stove. Comes in handy when cooking. Here's my baby whisk. Now we're just under the 1 cup mark, so I'm gonna fill this up to just under the 2 cup mark with the ketchup. I bought these squeeze bottles while they were on sale because toddlers love their dippies. Give that a whisk up. So basically we're making that can of manwich. essentially. Technically we're making 2 cans because we're doing 2 pounds of ground beef. So I also like that there's 2 sides to this, so I can use the other side to get 2 tablespoons, and I do the golden sweetener. I'll have down below the cheaper brand. I just have Locanto up here since forever ago, before I owned a bakery and like went hunting for cheaper versions of the sweeteners I use. So it's been a long time, and this has lasted me a long time. Whisk that up. This is also to taste. So if you don't like things super sweet, definitely dial it back, and you can always add more as you go. So if you don't think you want it as spicy as I'm making it or as sweet as I'm making it, definitely go on the lesser side and add as you go. I do also add a little bit of crushed red for a little bit of spice. My husband loves spice. My son's decent with spice now too, so just a little bit something extra in there. I'm gonna get my beef in here because you can see the onions are just about translucent and starting to brown. So we'll finish up our sauce in a minute. Wash my hands real quick, and my secret tool. I love this thing, and I didn't know anything about this kind of tool until I saw my mother-in-law using it. It was like 5 years ago probably. And it took me a long time to buy one because I'm like, I don't need that, you know, I can just break it up. It's not that much better. And then I got to be older and a mom, and I'm like, I'm gonna get that tool because it is so much easier to break up ground beef. And that one was a little bit frozen, and my gas is out. Hold please. Okay, back in business. Might need this a little bit more in a minute, so we'll keep it here. For the rest of our sauce, 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard. You can definitely add more if you want. I'm not the hugest fan of mustard. If it's not evident yet, I went into being a pastry chef because I like sweets more than actual food. I've gotten much better, but I'm still a pretty picky eater. I'm trying not to pass that along to Van though. He eats just about everything. It's funny because I don't like the common things. I like more uncommon foods. Like I'll eat sushi and squid and octopus and stuff like that. But mustard, peppers, not a huge fan. Stir that in. Give this a little bit more smashing up. 1/2 tablespoon of chili powder. 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper. That's almost done, and we're almost done with our sauce. So a little bit of black pepper and salt. 3/4 teaspoon of pepper. You can just add this right into your meat and stuff. Again, you can add more later too, if you think it needs it. And then 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and that's 1/2 tablespoon. So I'm just gonna add 1/2 tablespoon of salt right to the Sloppy Joes. And we're just about ready for our sauce. You can obviously make up this sauce way in advance too. Once all your meat is cooked, you're gonna add your sauce and simmer it until it's nice and thick. Okay, looks good. Add in our sauce. Basically, you're gonna evaporate a lot of that water out, concentrate the flavor, nice and yummy. I'm gonna leave out my seasonings and stuff to taste and adjust if I think it needs it. While that's going, we can talk about the buns that this is gonna be with. And I already have 4 eggs pulled out, a stick of butter. We're basically making my pizza roll recipe. I did make a couple of tweaks here and there, and I did a bunch of testing on different sizes and thicknesses of the dough in order to get 12 buns out of this. And because I need some of this for my husband to eat, I'm gonna make 6 Sloppy Joe ones and 6 barbecue pulled pork ones. And that way I can have a bunch in the freezer ready to go. They take about 30 minutes in the oven. I'm gonna do more testing on that to see if I can get the timing down a little bit, higher temp, less time and stuff like that. So that'll be here. They are a great dinner just to have on hand. You can also just use my white hamburger bun recipe. So I'll link that up there for you. It is delicious, but a little bit more difficult to master. I've mastered it because I've literally been working on it for 4 years, but this recipe is a little bit more forgiving than it's an egg white bread recipe. If you want to order them, you can order them here. I do sell my hamburger buns online. So 4 eggs, a cup of low carb milk, or up here I do 1/3 cup of heavy cream and 2/3 water as my milk. And that's really all you need out in order to come to room temperature. Okay, so it's been simmering for about 10 minutes now, so I'm gonna give it a taste for seasoning and probably just reduce it a tiny bit more. Obviously you want it sloppy because it's Sloppy Joe, but we are putting these in buns, so we are gonna have to get this pretty chilled so that the meat's pretty solid going into the dough. Brings me back to childhood. My mom made Sloppy Joes quite often and Sloppy Joe mac. A little bit sweet, spicy, tangy from the ketchup. It's delicious. So we're just gonna let that simmer for a little bit while longer. I already got all the ingredients out, so you can take a look in the description box if you want to get all the ingredients ready if you're cooking along. And we're gonna weigh out what we need to get chilled, and then we'll get onto the dough. Okay, we're getting to the point where it's sloppy, but not too sloppy. So this is how my husband would eat it on his normal buns and stuff like that. So we're gonna measure out what we want to put in the fridge. I figured about 3 ounces per bun. So if you're making 6, that's 18 ounces. If you're only doing the 6 buns, 1 pound or half a batch of Sloppy Joes would be enough. And I'm getting some of the juice and some of the meat. You can always save some of the sloppiness and dip your buns in too. Okay, that's 18 ounces. I'm gonna set this on the back counter to cool until it's a little bit chilled, and then we can put it in the fridge to cool all the way. This is a great thing to do with the leftovers. Same thing with my pulled pork, which I'll link up there for you, my recipe for that. It's super easy to prep a whole pork butt, break it up into portions and freeze it. That way you can do different things with it. We'll get our mixer up here ready to start the dough. Okay, I think we're ready to go. First off, I wanted to thank Liana for this idea. She made my pizza rolls and she was saying she loved them, and she was wondering if I've ever thought about putting other things in the pizza rolls. And that got me to thinking, I already wanted to do the Sloppy Joe recipe, but I wanted a way to make it better for keto and low carb because we always are missing our buns. So I thought about it, and I did try a roll with the Sloppy Joe, and it does work, but I was wondering if there was a better way to do it. I thought, am I able to make like squares of dough, put it in, wrap it up, and cook it like a bun? So it's basically like a Hot Pocket. You can literally pick it up and eat it like a Hot Pocket. And it worked out great, and I was super excited. So I did a bunch of different tests on this, and I filled it with the Sloppy Joe, the barbecue pulled pork, and then I made pizza pockets. Like I did little mini ones, because you can't put a lot of stuff in a pizza one because cheese melts, obviously. So like if you make them too big, you end up just with, you know, a bunch of empty space in there. So I made like little pizza ones, and they were super good too. But it is my basic pizza roll recipe dough. The only difference is one time I accidentally left out the baking powder, and it turned out great. So I don't put the baking powder in it anymore. It's still just light and fluffy dough on the outside. And then I upped the gelatin a little bit to make it a little bit stiffer of a dough so that we can work with it easier. And that's really it. So we're gonna get to this dough. My eggs have been like crazy big, so I am gonna weigh these out. A large egg should be 50 grams. I'm not complaining because I've actually saved a couple of eggs because they've been so big, because I do a lot of baking. So yeah, that was 3 grams over. I think the other 2 are gonna be about 50 grams. So these ones are a little bit smaller. That one was a little bit under 50. See, the yolk is tiny in that one. Using 2 smaller and 2 a little bit bigger. And to that, we're gonna add some sweetener. There is always sweetener in pizza dough. I don't find this makes it sweet. It's a 1/4 cup or 48 grams. I just weigh everything out because it's so much faster. You just gotta be careful you don't go over when you're doing things like this. That on the mixer. I already have the 1/3 cup of cream with 2/3 milk, and it looks like a pretty thick milk still, like a half and half. So you can probably even use less if you want, but I'm gonna warm this up between 100 and 110 degrees to bloom our yeast. And I'm gonna preheat my oven to 400 degrees. Even though we don't need it yet, it helps bloom our yeast. I've been stirring our Sloppy Joe mix, and it's only at about 120, so I'm gonna pop this into the refrigerator to chill the rest of the way. I'm popping this in the microwave. I love the laser thermometer. This one I don't like as much because I can't figure out how to turn the sound off, even though there's a sound button. It doesn't turn off, so I like the one I have down in the bakery better. Now I think the yeast definitely does help it rise on the initial bake. When you freeze it, I don't think you get much of a rise from the yeast, but it still adds a yeasty flavor to your dough, so I wouldn't skip it necessarily. And as soon as that comes out, we're gonna melt 1 stick of butter. And I use salted butter. We're at 102. So I do 2 teaspoons of inulin. You don't want your butter too crazy hot because it makes your dough stickier. Because when butter solidifies, it gets hard and your dough will get harder faster if you have less hot butter in there. And I've been just doing a tablespoon of yeast. You can just do 1 packet. This is active dry yeast. I have done this recipe with instant and I didn't see much of a difference. So if you have just a packet of instant yeast, you can use that. I still did this with the instant. I'm gonna put this on my stovetop to bloom. Give our butter a stir, get all the butter down in there to melt. And then usually while I am measuring out dry ingredients, I have my mixer going and I'm adding that. I'm adding the milk and stuff while I'm doing the dry ingredients. I'm going to obviously measure because I don't want the mixer going, but it's all the same ingredients I had in my previous recipe. And yes, every time I make my recipes when I haven't made them in a while, I always watch my own videos because you never remember every single tip and trick. You end up having a more difficult time. I've learned the hard way. Okay, that's what I thought. I only upped the gelatin by 5 grams. It's 110 grams of an unflavored whey protein isolate. I have heard that concentrates work. I just don't use them. I like this because it's 0 carbs. All their flavors are 0 carbs too. PodoPure, I use the vanilla and the chocolate to bake. 1.25 cups plus 2 tablespoons. It's supposed to be 1/4 cup of coconut flour, which is 30 grams. I've never found it to be accurate. Kind of packed that down a little bit. And 24. And that's what the back of my package says. It's probably like an average of how they measure it in the factory. Bamboo fiber, 88 grams. You don't need to use any coconut flour at all. You can do 30 more grams of bamboo fiber. I just find it gives a little bit more structure to our dough. Bamboo fiber makes it really soft. I feel like coconut flour gives a little bit more structure to the final product. And 1 tablespoon of xanthan gum, which I don't know if it's just that xanthan gum deteriorates, but I've been trying recipes up here with this xanthan gum, which is the Anthony's brand that I use down in the bakery, and it seems to not be getting things as thick as they should be. So I don't know if the one in the bakery is just thicker now, or if this one is less thick, or it just degrades over time. The expiration date isn't until December, so I don't know. Hopefully this recipe will turn out fine. 1 tablespoon, 12 grams. I did 13. And I'm not sure if I have 30 grams of my Thrive Market beef gelatin left or not. 3 tablespoons. 32. Oops. I guess I did have 30 grams left. I am keeping my yeast in the freezer. If you don't use your yeast a lot, which up here I don't, I've been keeping it in the freezer. Okay, so that's all our ingredients. I think I added a little bit more salt, 1/2 teaspoon. You can also add other seasonings to this. So like for my pizza roll, I added garlic and oregano. Definitely whisk up your dry ingredients. Whew, bamboo fiber is dusty. And this is why I do everything while it's going, because our yeast is ready to go. So whisking this, add in butter, add in your milk, all your dry ingredients at once, whip it up until it's nice and stiff. Then we're gonna roll it out. Stop and scrape down, but with this mixer, I definitely don't have to scrape down as much as my one down in the bakery. Add in all your dry. Start slow. See, it starts to get stiff. Get all the flour that flew up and whisk it until it's nice and thick and it cools down a little bit. See, it's all stuck in there now, so it's thick. Now, with the rolling out of this, I did do it pretty different than the pizza rolls because we need to roll it out a little bit thinner and bigger for each one. All the dough out, and we're gonna divide it in half, which I'm particular, so I weigh it. So about 435, I'll go 430. It's because you always leave a little bit of everything behind. I'm giving my Sloppy Joe a mix to make sure it cools down nicely. So all that juice should solidify around the meat. I'm using silk pads, but you can definitely just use parchment paper for this. You need one at a time. Bench scraper, ruler, two things that come in handy, and avocado oil. If you don't want to waste your spray, which is more expensive than just avocado oil, you use a little bowl of avocado oil to like dip your hands in and make sure you stay nice and oiled up to work with this dough. I did not spray it the first time I tried using a silk pad for this recipe, and it was not good. So if you're making pizza ones, I did 12 by 12 and I did 9 little pizza ones out of half the dough. For the big ones, for the sloppy joes and pulled porks and stuff, I do 15 by 10. So they're 5 by 5 squares. I also have 2 sheet trays standing by. I'm only gonna bake half of them. I'm gonna freeze the other half. Put 430 in there. Put that on, then make sure this is 430. 432, put the rest of this. There we go. Now I did do some tests downstairs with this, and 1/6 inch bands on my rolling pin worked well for this. So definitely you can do that. You're just gonna shape it into a rectangle, 10 by 15. So it definitely is easier to use a rolling pin, but both my rolling pins are downstairs. And if you do a rolling pin, I'd put a piece of parchment paper on top and roll it like that. Easier. Sometimes it's hard to get it without it ripping. But the rolling pin definitely works good on this because it kind of pushes it and rolls it at the same time. So we got to put it in the fridge to chill for a minute so that we can get them cut out nicely and the dough gets nice and stiff from being in the fridge. Don't really need to be like square on the edges because you're just pulling the edges up and putting the seams together. So we're at 14 inches. A little bit further. Okay, I think we're good. Make sure you don't have too many big holes. So put this on a sheet tray, baking sheet, what have you, and put it in the fridge to set up for a little while you get your other dough done. I'm just gonna do the same thing with the other one. We'll meet you back here when it's time to fill them up and shape them. And I was just thinking about this, I have some pesto ranch cheese ball left. You can literally fill these with so many things. Like I was just thinking about, I'm like, any cold fillings would be perfect for this. And then any leftovers, like if you have leftover pulled chicken with hot sauce and ranch and stuff like that, like you can make little buffalo chicken pockets. Like the possibilities are endless, and I'm excited to do some more testing with it. So we got some cheddar cheese. I didn't realize how low I was, so I got some sliced cheddar also that I'm gonna use. Our sloppy joe mix is just about cooled. You can see it's nice and thick now. So just a couple more minutes in the fridge and I think we'll be good to go. Do use a scale. I like to measure out how much I put in each one, but obviously you don't have to. Whatever your fillings are gonna be, have them all ready to go, nice and chilled to put into your buns. Okay, the dough's been chilling for about 10 minutes. I think I'm gonna do 3 sloppy joe, 3 pulled pork on this first tray. Do 5. Definitely spray. And what did we end up with? 10.5-ish, 5 1/4. Kind of eyeball it too. Okay, start with the pulled pork. I'm gonna put down a piece of cheese in the bottom of each one. And then I put a piece of plastic wrap on here just to make it easy. Okay, that right in there. I'd fill them all up to start, then mold them all. There's a really big hunk of pork in there. I might have to do some rogue ones because I'm not gonna have enough pulled pork to do 6. So we have to figure out some other fillings. Okay, washing my hands, then we'll get them folded up. I always make my homemade barbecue sauce and I always make it too thick and I want to use it right away, so I want it thick when I'm using it hot, but then it's way too thick when it's cold, but it works good in this application. The biggest note if you're doing like a pepperoni and cheese is to put the pepperoni down on the bottom and the cheese on top. So you're just pinching all this together. You can stretch it a tiny bit, but you don't want it to rip any, so you gotta be careful. Inch kind of dough ball. There you go. Got your pork bun. Yeah, just like that. Let's do some Sloppy Joe ones. Normally, well, the first time I did weigh this, but I'm just gonna do a little sprinkle. It's about 0.2 ounces. Here's our Sloppy Joe. Do a 1/3 cup, which is supposed to be like 2.6 ounces, so a little heaping. Yeah, that works. That way we don't have to measure all of them. So a little over 1/3 of a cup. A little bit more cheese on top. And measuring it all out at 0.2 ounces, 0.2 ounces, 3 ounces of the mix, that was 3 grams net carbs. Okay, let's close up a Sloppy Joe. Oop, little rip. Kind of mold the dough together. And any little hole on the top will act as just like a vent hole, so you might get a little bit of spillage out of there. If you want to know what's inside, you can mark it with either the cheese you put on it, or for like the cheese and pepperoni ones I did, I put a tiny piece of pepperoni, so I remembered it was pepperoni pizza. If you're doing like a ham and Swiss, you can put a little piece of ham on top. So I cooked off a bunch the first test I did. I reheated it in the air fryer, 350 degrees for about 15 minutes, and it was like perfect. But I have an air fryer oven, you see back there? I don't have like the standard drawer one. I only have that one, and I have a big foodie, so it's hard for me to test traditional air fryer. I always want to go more filling, and I shouldn't. I should have mixed the barbecue in with the pulled pork. You can let these chill while your oven preheats, and they will get a little bit puffier, just so you know. Oops, I ripped that guy. Try not to pull too hard. Gotta make sure you just have the excess dough where you need it, because if you try to pull too hard in one spot, you'll get a hole in there, but you can usually close it back up. Okay, squish them down a little bit. Make sure they're all together. Yeah. Okay, so you can freeze them just like this and bake them from frozen. But I'm gonna get them into the oven. I'm gonna do 8, turn them 8, and I just usually temp the inside, get it up to like 160 degrees inside and golden on top. So it's all gonna depend on your oven. Into the oven they go. I'm gonna make those other 6, and I'm probably gonna put them right into the freezer so I can do more testing for you guys. Okay, so I don't have enough pork left, but I have 2 pieces of bacon, chopped it up. I'm gonna leave a little piece out to put on the top so I know that this is bacon, and I got cheddar bacon pesto ranch cheese ball. Put in there. It'd be great. I don't think I have any pickled jalapenos, but we're going camping. We really should use up all of our leftovers in the fridge. Okay, that should be plenty. I might have to bake this one off and see how it works. And then I have some Thai red curry left over. I do have some chicken thighs too, but I don't know. I think this might be better. Although it's a bunch of veggies I can't have. This is hearts of palm rice here. Put some of that in there. I did try steaming this also. I had the idea of doing steamed buns. It worked, but I don't know if the texture was exactly right. So this is pork curry. So I got pork in here. I always pick out the carrots, and I usually do broccoli for myself. So I got broccoli and onion in here. Pork curry bun. Again, it's much harder with saucy things. So if you're gonna do pizza ones, definitely use my pizza sauce recipe with the tomato paste if you wanna make pizza ones. So bake off these 2 and see how they go. And I'm getting the other 4 into the freezer. And the other buns should be out of the oven soon. These are the buns. They look delicious. Not sure if the pulled pork ones are done. I'm gonna turn it again and do like 2 more minutes. And I just checked them. I'm gonna give them 2 more minutes still. So that was 20 minutes. And let these cool, because they're gonna be really hot, and then we'll give them a taste. I'm gonna throw the other ones into the oven. Those ones were a little bit smaller, so I think they'll take a little bit less time. You can pull them off and put them onto something else if you don't want them to get too soggy on the bottom. I'm gonna get a rack out and do that. So they cool faster too. Pulled pork. Let these cool, cut into one, and give it the Sloppy Joe a taste. Okay, those little ones, 14 minutes and they're done. So I'm pulling them out now. Smaller, I feel like, is better. I just always want to pack as much in as possible. Cheese and bacon. Excited to try them. Cut this one in half. Ooh. Sloppy Joe and bun, all in one. It's delicious. You can just eat them just like this. I think better than a sloppy Joe. It's not as sloppy. But that's just me. I'm one of those people that I hate my hands being dirty all the time. It's amazing that I went into the profession I did. Bready outside, sloppy Joe inside. It's delicious. Got a little bit of cheese pull in there. My pulled pork ones. Break it open, can I? Pulled pork buns. Excited to do more experimenting on this. Looks delicious. Now we're gonna have to wait for those to cool a little bit before we can bust into those. I love that I'm gonna have a bunch of these in the freezer to cook fresh and heat up for dinner on those nights that I don't have a lot of time to cook. There are so many more options for not keto that are easy to heat and cook and stuff like that. The closest thing that comes to that for us is the Real Good Food. And I've tried a couple of the things and I'm just, I like their chicken tenders. That's pretty much the only thing I get for like ready-made meals. And I've gotten like the egg and sausage sandwiches, but it's nice to have a different option for a quick dinner. See how this curry one turned out. My red curry is so good. And it's nice because curry usually you get naan, so this is like having your naan, but it's around it. Turned out good. This one had less filling, more dough. The dough is just super soft and fluffy on the outside. So with less filling, you get a thicker dough to filling ratio. It is delicious. Super good. All around, 4 successful bun recipes or Hot Pocket recipes. They're obviously not the shape of Hot Pocket, but they're pretty darn close to a Hot Pocket. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe and you try it out for yourself and you get super creative with the fillings you put in it. Let me know down in the comments below what you're planning on trying as your fillings. I'd love to know. Give me some more inspiration for some future videos maybe. Is there anything filling wise that you want to see me make, like a sloppy Joe is a little bit more involved than just throwing in some ham and Swiss cheese and stuff like that. So let me know down in the comments below what you would like these keto Hot Pockets filled with. Don't forget to check out my Amazon shop page. The link is down in the description box below, along with the blog link to the full recipe. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll be back with more keto, low-carb, healthy meals, desserts, and snack recipes. Bye, guys. Happy keto cooking.